God sometimes is at work in deeper ways than we ever would realize. And, we could talk a long time about the death of our son. And it was an instantaneous car accident. That was 13 years ago. He left a wife and 2 baby girls. But I can honestly say, as hard and as life-shattering, life-altering as that was, and God tore the pages of the story that I had been written out of my book and wrote a new story. Out of that has come the healing of my son, Jonathan, who was a prodigal, who had heard from his brother and had been talking with his brother and open with him, and his brother, Christopher, who went to heaven 2 days before, had said to him, Jonathan, what's it gonna take? What's it gonna take to bring you back to the Lord? What's it gonna take for you to get right with God? And when Jonathan heard that news, on the spot, now you talk about healing and miraculous healing. Is the healing of a body the greatest miracle, or is the healing of a soul a life-giving soul? And Jonathan was truly born again in that moment and has walked with Jesus since. And I also think about the Apostle Paul when he spoke about his affliction. And he called out to the Lord 3 times, and the Lord said, my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect in your weakness. So in the Apostle Paul's life, an affliction, and we don't know what it was. Was it physical? Was it somebody in his life that was, a thorn in his flesh? We don't know, but God allowed suffering in his life in order that through his weakness, the power of God would be on display.
Yes.
And he can use, and we have many friends who have been healed, and we have other friends who have not. And the ones that have not, as they've come to Christ, surrendered their lives and their journey to him and the story that God is writing, it's his story.
Yeah.
And he is the good shepherd. Yeah. He does lead us in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And it's often unexpected, but he tells us that it's full of glory, that the end will be glorious. And I'm grateful. I'm heartbroken. I would take Christopher back in a minute. And I have a son in heaven, and I have a son on earth who is serving Jesus.
Yeah, and I love that. Who told us that a healing in this natural body is better than a healed heart?
Right.
Who told us that, And when he says, I am Jehovah Rapha, of course, that we've talked about, that's who he is. Whether your circumstances in our natural is to have Gabrielle back, to have Christopher back. The righteous live by faith.
Yeah.
And I think the currency of heaven is you stand in those times of everything against you, every circumstance against you, all these stories, and you stand and you say, but my God is Jehovah Rapha.
Yes.
Amen.
That's where we get all the brownie points, whatever you want to call it. That's all I have to give to God when I get there is the times that we stood in faith, calling out who he was in the dire these are dire circumstances that happen, and everyone goes through it. Everyone has a dire circumstance at one time or another. You will face it. Yeah. And to stand and declare God in the midst of, he is my provider, he's my joy, he's my every breath, he's my satisfaction, he's my peace. He's my rock. I can be stable. When God declared himself as Jehovah Rapha, it's funny because I was reading that the Israelites had come out of Egypt and they were in the valley of Shur, or the desert of Shur, and they were thirsty. And so they've been there for 3 days and they start murmuring and complaining, and they find this river called Mara, and they name it Mara, called bitter. Bitter. And so let's just go here for a moment. So God tells Moses, take that piece of wood, throw it in the water, and he heals the water, and they partake. So here's God healing the water. And it's not bitter anymore. So I think sometimes our hearts turn bitter. And God says, I am Jehovah Rapha.
Yeah.
I can heal that heart.
I can heal your heart.
Yeah.
I can heal, you know.
Sometimes we do just exactly, though, like the water became bitter. Naomi's situation, she lost her husband, she lost her 2 sons, and she decided that she would change her name
Yep.
to match her pain.
Yeah.
So she said, don't call me Pleasant anymore. Call me Mara. Call me bitter. This is the thing that I've learned in all these situations that I've walked through, is if you're not careful, you'll want to identify with your pain instead of continuing to identify with your healer.
Yeah.
Your identity has to stay inside your healer, because otherwise you will become the victim of pain and situations and grief. You'll become the mom that lost her child, and you'll become the one that was crippled. None of that is my identity, but you have to fight not to change your name to match your pain. You know, that's not my identity. Those things happened, but they have no right to who I am, because I'm his.
Yes.
And when I'm his, I can't be bitter.
Right.
Because there's no bitterness allowed in him. He's Rapha. He's going to heal all that bitter.
Right.
As long as I stay in him,
Yeah.
I can stay healed. I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, how can you still believe? And my answer is the same. How can you not?
Yeah. Yeah.
How can I not still believe?
Yeah.
What other choice is there than to believe? I have to believe he's Rapha. He didn't stop being Rapha because I had a bad situation.
Right. Yeah.
He became Rapha more to me in my bad situation.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe today and you'll never miss a new upload.
And don't forget to check out our Better Together shop. Thanks for being a part of our community.